Hi everyone, I'm Tash. I currently work for Percival. For those of you who don't know Percival, they're a British menswear brand based in Hackney. We do kind of small runs. Our mantra is subverting the classics. So you're kind of taking this is one of our pieces I'm repping today, classic menswear, but with a little bit of a fun twist.
Martha, what about you?
Hi, yeah, I'm Martha, so I'm head of performance at ACAI Outdoor Wear. So we're a women's outdoor wear brand. It's a brand, it's exclusively in the female space, which is quite unique in the outdoor world. So we basically, our mission is to give women the confidence to get outdoors. We give women the confidence to get outdoors by providing really well-performing outdoor gear that not only performs against the elements, it fits incredibly well. So we offer we go from sizes 6 to 22, 4 different leg lengths, different hip to waist ratio. It looks really great, and it basically just doesn't look like traditional outdoor wear that's usually sort of, a sickly shade of lilac or pink and is quite baggy. And the idea is that you can, wear the stuff out in the top of a mountain and then also to the pub or out and about as well. These are also ACAI trousers to prove the point that they can be worn everywhere. That's kind of the mission. Is it's a very women's first inclusive brand.
Cool. I am not wearing anything by Yotpo. We design clothing. I don't know what it would look like. Okay, so we're here to talk about retention. And I'm curious, how do you guys balance the need to retain old customers or existing customers with the need to acquire new ones? And sort of what is the perfect ratio of retention to acquisition? Tosh, you start.
I guess that's the question that we're always asking ourselves. I want to say like 50-50, but I really think it depends on the situation of your business at the time. We started the brand 10 years ago, but in the last 3 years, we were in a massive phase of growth. So naturally our acquisition was higher. And now we're kind of trying to get this year, we're now more on that 50-50 mark with our spend. And I also think you spend so much time, money, and we know it's expensive to acquire new customers. But then if you don't have a strong retention strategy in place, then they come in and then you're like, cool, we've got our first customer, and then you don't do anything after that. So I think finding that balance is really important, and that's what we've been doing.
We're the same. We've kind of got, it sounds like a bit of a cop-out answer just to say 50-50, but that kind of genuinely is true in our case. And what we found, our business is sort of 6-7 years old, but actually we didn't really do any marketing up until a few years ago, and business basically grew completely through referrals, and actually through like informal referrals as well. So we're really trying to put as much focus as we can on our existing customers, because essentially that is, we can acquire new customers via our existing customers. We kind of view our existing customers in a way actually as an acquisition channel in itself. So giving them really amazing service, giving them previews of promotions, previews of new products, getting them involved with product focus groups, and really drawing them into the brand, because we find that one, they feel really included and as part of like our community. They kind of do, the new acquisition job for us, in that they go out and go, a walking group, and they'll tell their friends, and everything's done through kind of a much more informal way. As a growing business, you obviously always need new customers to continue that growth, but actually it's the existing ones that we have to kind of look after a lot more. I
also find that everyone has the budget and ideas to get new customers in, but then no one's rewarding the existing customers, who are actually the ones that are giving you the most money and are the most loyal to your brand and will come back time and time again. So yeah, I like that you're kind of treating them in that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think the thing about retention, one of the reasons we wanted to bring you guys as speakers is because both of your brands have this community around them, and like it's so obvious that you care about your existing customers so much that naturally begets more customers. I was talking with some people who are in the audience now earlier about a retention strategy doesn't have to be that complex. And I won't name the brand, but I'll say that I am a subscriber of a brand. I'll say it's a coffee brand, just in case they're not this coffee brand. They're another coffee brand. In case in the audience, I won't say the name. And I've been a subscriber for 2 years, and I like their coffee, right? I've made a good amount of money off me. But they've never acknowledged me as a customer for that long. And that's pretty impressive. Like, I've been ordering their coffee consistently every 2 weeks for 2+ years. And just an acknowledgement of, hey, it's been a year that you're with us. It doesn't have to be a discount, doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just a little message to show that they know I exist can be so important. So when it comes to retention strategy, I think we've surveyed e-commerce marketers. I think it's like 80% of people say they want to invest more in a retention strategy. But only 40% have done something towards that in the last year. And I think the challenge is often not knowing where to start. What are some challenges that you guys have faced when you're building out your retention strategy? Let's start with you, Martha.
I think one thing that we struggle with is how do you retain someone and not give them a promotion? You know, it's like the easy thing to, it's like, oh, it's been 6 months since your last purchase, have 20% off. It's been a year or whatever. It's your birthday, have, you know. And I think there's so many milestones, and like the easy thing to do is just to give them like a percentage discount. And the time we're in at the moment, you know, our margins are being squeezed from like a product standpoint. Everything's getting more expensive. We're under much more pressure as a business to really reduce our reliance on promotions. You know, we're not a promotional business anyway. But we have, you know, been guilty of using that as a little bit of a tap if we need a bit of a nudge when it's getting towards month end. And so it's like that's a real challenge for us, is how do we get someone back without doing that? The other challenge we have as well is, you know, we intentionally have a very limited product range. Everything is very considered, very curated. We will never do. We don't produce lots of clothes. We don't do new lines. The whole purpose is that it's evergreen. You shouldn't really have to buy that much. You should just buy, you know, things and wear them a lot more. That's kind of how the business has been born. So when you're not trying to do promotions and you also don't have loads of exciting products to talk about, it's like, how do you fill those gaps and how do you keep people engaged? And so that has been a really big challenge of ours. You know, we've really kind of lent on the community element of our brand to be able to fill that gap and talk about what we're doing, you know, for women in the outdoors, kind of events that we're putting on, or trying to engage people through social, and kind of connecting different partnerships that we have. But that is a challenge, is just actually having something to talk about, which doesn't kind of lean into the either promotion or new product. That's a challenge specifically of ours anyway.
What about you, Tash?
Yeah, I think for us, it's like we know all the things that we want to do. It's just having the, not necessarily time, but just having the confidence to go ahead and do it. We've built out a roadmap, and I think most of us in this room probably have some kind of a roadmap. Sometimes you look at it, sometimes you don't. And actually going back and filling it in, putting all the wildest things up until December. And then you're like, actually, we can do that now. We've got the budget. And also filling in what we've done so that we can go back and review. This is actually, we had loads of customers that came back in March. What do we do? Dun, dun, dun. And then we can kind of take those learnings. And I think sometimes with retention pieces, it's a long game. And like, I always feel like, we were talking about this on a table earlier, automated flows are so amazing at retaining customers, and they're so personalized. But lots of key stakeholders or people in the business don't always see them, and they want to see those daily, weekly campaigns going out, and you spend so much time making them. But the conversion rate for our flows is like 1,000 times higher than our weekly campaigns. So I think educating other people in the company to understand that these tactics are worth it, and they might not see the visible impact straight away, but it will come.
I'm curious from the audience, we talked about like the 50-50 ratio. How many of you feel like you're investing sort of less than 50% of your resources in retention? Raise your hand. It's a safe space, it's okay. And how many of you feel like you're investing more than 50% of your resources in retention? Raise your hand. Yeah, much fewer people. I see Ash at the back raising her hand high. So yeah, it's really interesting, like this idea of not knowing where to begin, wanting to do it, knowing it's important, but what can I do? And like, are there these challenges, like what can I do creatively, or how can I convince the leadership that this is the right thing to be doing? Tash, with Percival in particular, the community is such a big part of what you do.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you're building that community and how you're using that to sort of keep buyers coming back?
Yeah, I think, the Foot Asylum, that was so much more than what we're doing, but having that content creation, personalization, and like Chris is the owner of the brand and CEO. He started the business and we still keep him at the forefront. He still features in our content. Sometimes we write personalized emails from him. And I think we have the nature of the brand is very personalized, fun tone of voice. So we really keep that going on socials. We haven't, but we're about to launch our loyalty program. So I think that will be a great way to continue to build the community, and WhatsApp groups. We've done customer questionnaires, and I think people love to feel heard. And even if you only take 1% of the feedback in the next 6 months, people will notice that. And I think also, again, it gives you more reason and credibility within the company to go and do the things that you've been wanting to do, because you've got 10, 20,000 customers who've come and said they want this from you. So a lot can be done to build the community, but I think making your customers feel heard. Obviously, like we've said today, they're all humans, so treat them as so. Yeah.
Martha, I know you guys at ACAI you guys really take the customer feedback, the reviews really seriously and sort of work that into your product cycles. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, just on Tasha's point around kind of, customers love to feel heard. So that's, how we basically develop the product range is we directly take the feedback from customers. So we're in a fairly privileged position that we're still relatively small. So in terms of like an office space, our customer care team sits next to our product design and development team. So we are hearing the feedback from customers as it comes in. So, had loads, the example about the hip to waist ratio trouser, saga, which I didn't even realize was a thing, but we specialize in legwear and trousers, and we're a brand whose purpose is to make women feel great and to really provide something that fits them impeccably well. And that's at the center of everything we do. It has to have impeccable fit. And then we had a customer say, "Oh, I really love your trousers, but I get a really bad waist gap. What can what do you recommend I do around sizing?" And then we're like, hang on, if that's one customer that said that, then actually there'll be so many more people who have that issue. So we've then specially designed trousers which sit a little bit higher, have a slightly wider waistband, so then it just sort of gives a better fit for that particular customer, for that particular shape. We've done the same with shorts. We made shorts and they weren't too short. But they were a little bit shorter, and then we had a few customers saying, "Oh, I just don't really feel good in them because they're just a bit too short for me." And we're like, again, if our whole brand ethos is around giving women confidence and making them feel comfortable, we've got to listen to what they're saying. If they're saying they're not comfortable in the length of our shorts, we've got to offer another range where it's longer. So that's happened. That happens with most of our product development happens from customer feedback, and it's really lovely because then when we launch a product, we can, literally pull out the quotes that we get on social, pull out the emails that we get, and say, literally, we've listened to what you've said, and as a result of what you have told us, here's a product which answers your needs. And the reaction we get from that is so strong, and I think that's why people feel so connected to our brand, because they feel like they're, informing decisions and they feel part of it. And again, that's kind of really, that's sort of crucial to sort of, how we've grown and how we've kind of built that brand loyalty, is that people really do feel heard.
Yeah, we've done the same actually with reviews. We're still in the process of implementing it on the site, but we've still started to gather them. And also it's important to look back and take the information that the customer has given you and not just take the positive feedback and use that, but the negative feedback to learn from. Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting. I know I asked about reviews, but you both spoke about reviews. And I think reviews are so often seen as an acquisition strategy. Like, I have to have reviews on my website, I have to have a star rating so people will know which products to buy. It is, right? It's a big part of that. It's super important. It's also a retention strategy, like you're saying, because having those reviews, just acknowledging that your customers are saying things and you're hearing them and you're publishing them on your website or using them in your promotions or acting on that stuff is such a huge part of retention. And that brings me back to my point about retention doesn't have to be this scary thing, and it doesn't have to be discounts. It can be these like simple things maybe that you're already doing. Can I take it that next step further to really show people that I'm listening to them? So that's really cool. To get a bit more tactical, we talked about reviews. I know you're both using SMS in your brands. How is that a part of your retention strategy? Tash, let's start with you.
We're still very new to SMS. We've really ramped it up in the last year. I think also often we try and talk about different countries in different ways. I think SMS is really important that we do so. The way people feel in the UK about SMS versus the US is so different, and I think we're still adjusting to it here in the UK. Originally, we were like, every time we launch a campaign, we'll go out and send an SMS at the same time. And actually, it's like, SMS is so quick and easy to just, instead of building an email campaign, you can quickly type a few messages and then you've got an SMS campaign ready to go. And I think that's where we're like, we want to be a bit more reactive with it. We haven't set up flows yet, but I think that's going to be really powerful. And you are delivering straight to someone's phone in a way less kind of cluttered environment than your email inbox. So the ROI has been amazing so far. So I think we're very excited to see where it goes. And we personally, the US mix is like 30% of the brand right now. We want it to be 50 by the end of the year. And I think SMS is going to play a big role in that because it's so like everyone's using it in the US.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've always tried some sort of really exciting, crazy, innovative idea around SMS. It's really, really simple at the moment. There's a lot more we could do. We leverage all those sort of automated flows. Actually, the Yotpo team have built a lot of them for us, which we're very appreciative of. But basically, kind of a lot of the abandoned basket and those type and abandoned category flows, they're all sort of done via SMS now rather than email because email's so cluttered. I thought the talk before was really interesting and also very reassuring to know that it wasn't just me. And so it's like a really useful to be able to help cut through. What we've really tried to do with SMS is, because we're quite wary of, in the UK, it sometimes can feel a little bit intrusive. And it's basically to warm people up to receiving email SMSs from us. So just trying to even sort of like getting all of the, the shipping updates and all the logistical updates around someone's order. Actually, we've been pushing those through SMS over email just to get the customers used to hearing from us from SMS, so they don't all of a sudden get a campaign SMS from us and feel like it's a bit out of the blue. So just trying to warm them up to, this is how we're going to try and communicate with you, and then we can kind of supplement those with campaign SMSs as well. But at the moment we're trying to do a lot of work in terms of understanding which of our customers respond better to email, which customers respond better to SMS. I know with Yotpo as well, we're looking at how we can look at integrating our email flows and SMS flows and doing them all from the same platform as well. And that's quite an interesting one that we've not started yet, but that's something that we're really going to try and develop over the next sort of year, is how we can, utilize this when they're connected together, how we can utilize the signals. If we know someone's not responding on one channel, what do we do on a different channel, and vice versa.
And audience, show of hands again. How many of you are using SMS to communicate with your customers? It's up a little higher. Okay, yeah, not a lot. How many of you have reviews on your store? I'm curious. Raise your hands up. Yeah, a lot more people. I think with SMS, because I'm talking about it with brands all the time, and I think in the UK, everyone's kind of like a bit scared about SMS at the moment. And being, a provider of SMS, it's like, I know like some of my colleagues are like, oh my gosh, like what are we gonna do? 6 years ago, when I moved to the UK with Yotpo to sell reviews at the time, we couldn't convince people that they needed reviews on their store. Everybody said, I'm using Trustpilot. I have reviews on the Trustpilot website. I do not need product reviews on my website. And now we see around the room, you guys all have product reviews on your website, right? It's kind of the same thing. So I say, I'm not worried. Like, I know that this is the natural stance. We're gonna ease into it slowly.
Also, for us, we've done, in just the last 3 months alone, lead generation campaigns, because I want us to push SMS more. We're not just asking for email, we are asking for SMS. 99% of people have given their number at the same time. Yeah. So in that sense, we should feel really confident about it, because everyone is willing to give their numbers, and they don't have to, but they do. So yeah, I do feel positive.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a question of, I understand, of course, the hesitation. I don't get SMS from a lot of brands. I get email from a lot of brands. I don't get SMS from a lot of brands. It's a new channel. But there's that curve and that cusp of, do I want to be one of the first brands that's using it, so that it's kind of new and I'm really sticking out, but not too soon. I don't want to be like the only brand using it, because people will think it's weird. So it's really interesting to watch that evolve. And like I said, I've seen it already in the review space, and now I expect to see it in the SMS space. Speaking about SMS, Martha, you guys have seen insane, and Tash, you kind of spoke about collecting SMS subscribers. You guys have seen insane SMS subscriber growth over the last year. Can you talk a little bit about what you're doing to get those SMS subscribers? Because I think if you're not using it yet, you're probably like, how do I get people's phone numbers?
I think it's grown about 70% in the last year. And again, it's not actually that exciting. We've basically, you get a pop when you go on the site, you get a pop-up saying, get 10% off your first email, or first order with an email. If someone fills in the email, we then populate saying, you can also get updates from us via text if you put your number in. So we only show the SMS if someone's already opted into email. In the future, we may actually decide to flip that. That's this is a sort of testing water. So we've just done that. And then within checkout as well, we've made it just an opt-in. If people want to receive marketing by text, it's not that innovative. It's quite basic, really. But I would say we made a conscious decision at checkout to get people to opt in rather than default opt out, just because we wanted the people that we did have on SMS to be really engaged and kind of be very, for them to really know what they were doing, because I think the last thing you want is to, get any sort of negative reaction from that. So yeah, that was just really sort of kind of top and tail of the customer journey with sort of welcome flow and the checkout flow as well.
Yeah, it does. There's something about SMS that feels a bit more intimate, and so there is that idea of getting them to opt in, and also what you guys both spoke about with how you talk to your customers, and it's really personal. It feels like a community, and so it's a channel that really makes sense for both of your brands. Okay, shifting gears a little bit. I want to talk about conscious consumerism. It's obviously a really big topic, a very important topic, and you're both in fashion, where it's something that comes up a lot. How are your brands sort of leaning into sustainability and using that to build community? Tash, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I guess being a British brand and predominantly British made, that's always been the focus, and smaller runs that we then sell out and have to kind of reorder as and when it comes in instead of having too much. We have some pieces that are tiny runs in the products, and we try and be really transparent about that. Stickiness was mentioned for app stickiness, and we've been doing that on our website to try and create sticky content. So the content that gets created and put out on socials and all these other, and email, we're then compiling that onto the website PLP to make sure that that's really all the information a person would want to know about it is there. We do try and be transparent where possible. We recently reduced the price of one of our coats, and we were like, we cannot reduce it anymore, and we won't put it on sale. And then Chris, the founder, just did a video, and he literally went, this is how much the coat costs. This is how much this costs, taxes, staff, shipping, everything. And he was like, I just want to be really transparent with you. And it feels like a bit of a risky, scary thing to do, but the comments were amazing and the response was amazing. So I think, again, people just appreciate the honesty and transparency. We are by no means perfect, and we're a fashion brand, so by our nature, we're not necessarily the best thing for the environment, but we create products that last. So I guess it's that kind of spend a little bit more but less often mantra.
Yeah, that's very, very similar with us, and we're really conscious of the danger of greenwashing as well. So that's something that our brand manager is so strict on, and that we can't be seen to be saying something just because of it. So we have to really live by our values. So our kind of stance on conscious consumerism is more around sort of the multifunctional nature of our products. So the fact that you can have a pair of trousers that you wear to a work conference and to go hiking in, to go to the pub, to go to your kids' school, and at school it's buying fewer items, but I'm buying less, but buying better. So every product has to be completely multifunctional. Ideally, a lot of our tops, they have to be completely adaptable, so you can take the sleeves off, take the hood off, cinch the waist in, make it baggy, make it oversized, and basically giving people options so they can wear things in multiple different ways. We also really try and give back as well. So we have something that's called an outdoorsing fund, which basically we go and fund women's only sort of initiatives in the outdoors. So whether that's paying for someone to do a mountain leadership course, or giving people sort of hiking skills, paying for groups of women to go on walks together, and basically try and fund sort of community groups as well. So mother and baby walking groups, all things like that. And that's something that we really open about, and that we say if sometimes we'll do a promotion, but actually the promotion, the discount isn't actually that great, and that's because we're giving £5 off for you, but we're actually going to give £5 to our community groups, and that's something that people respond really well with. So it's we're trying to be as green as we can be with our products, but we're also trying to have a purpose and have a purpose beyond us, and what are we doing within the community to get more people outdoors as well.
All right, I think I'll go to our last question now, which is what is the future of retention? What do you guys have planned? Wishes, plans? What's coming up? Tash, why don't you start?
So as I mentioned, launching a loyalty program will be a big thing for us. I think a lot of customers want it. And I guess having that view of retention for the year is going to be so important for us. We're hopefully going to be launching a Discord channel and a WhatsApp group for invite only, just to really connect with the brand even more. So yeah, there's a lot to be done, but retention is at the forefront of what we're doing right now. And this week, actually, I was reviewing the activity that we've kind of changed our formula in the way that we approach our marketing versus a few years ago when we were quite promotion heavy, because the answer was, we need to retain some customers, let's give them a promo. And then actually looking at the second order delay from these customers 2 years ago was basically 330 days. So I'm like, so they've come and bought in a sale and they've only come back again to buy in the sale. Whereas now we've really reduced that down to 80. So I just want to keep reducing that second order delay if possible. But hopefully build customers into the ecosystem of the brand through some really fun loyalty.
Yeah, for us it's really around sort of building the community. So we don't have product drops very often. We expect someone to buy a pair of trousers maybe once a year. Really, you should be able to get 4 or 5 years of use out of trousers. So we're trying to not necessarily encourage too many repeat buys, although that sounds like a unusual thing to say. We're actually look at the distance between purchases for us is actually a good thing, because if someone's only buying again, in a year's time, that means they've got really good wear out of their gear, and actually they've thought a year later, I'm going to buy from that brand because they remember, so that we kind of see it on the flip side. But something that we're trying, but say in that kind of almost lull period between these purchases, we're really trying to look at how we can engage people. So we're going to look, sort of go down more the events route. So say we do these outdoorsing events, which will be open to sort of our VIP customers or kind of customers that we really want to take care of, and basically just invite them on a completely free, expertly led hike, or we do gardening clubs or mountain biking lessons, scrambling lessons. We do all these different things to try and appeal to different people, but it's more about getting them involved with the brand rather than purchasing. I think it was Joe at Foot Asylum made a really interesting point around, basically be patient, and customers will come to you, and people are more conscious now about spending money, and the consideration phase is a lot longer, and that's something that we really feel. And it's just trying to hold your nerve and be patient, and just think, actually, if we can just keep them engaged with the brand, make them feel like part of the community, they will come back, but we've kind of got to wait for it to be on their terms now. And so that's something that we're really trying to focus on, is more of the social and kind of event side of things of our retention strategy, rather than kind of more of the sales and the promotion side of things. Yeah.
Okay, so to sum it up, retention doesn't have to be too complicated, right? Just get out there and do it. You should be investing at least 50% of your resources in it, if not more. Some things that we think might not be retention focused can be, like reviews, like SMS. It's not just loyalty programs, so that can be a part of it. And I think like what's really been interesting hearing from both of you, even though you're both in fashion, is it's not one size fits all. And that's really what you're saying, is like, you have your community, you're fostering your community, and what your community needs to be different. That's the very nature of it. It harkens back to the first keynote today. Like, stay true to like what your brand represents, right? That's what people really want from you. Thank you, ladies, so much. Join me in thanking them.